What happens when a world-class nutritionist uses blood panels, cellular biology, and fact-based science to create and monitor healthy eating plans with supplements for her clients? Everyone wins. Welcome to Power on Your Plate with Haylie Pomroy, an educational experience that gives you both the actionable and practical tools you can use every day to get your health, weight, and life back on track.
Hey guys, it's Haylie Pomroy, your nutritionist and your wellness consultant and your everyday advocate for your health and wellness. I have been traveling a ton with clients working in clinics, hospitals, in all different situations, trying to get this world healthy despite what's going on in our environment right now. Yesterday, I had an incredible conversation with a dear friend of mine. We've worked together on a lot of different projects, and he asked me some really poignant questions about this virus and what's happening in the world right now with our health and with the health of my clients and of course, you guys, all of my virtual clients. And so I said, hey, why don't you and I jump on a little meeting and you can ask me all those questions and we can share that information. So Mike is here with me today. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Haylie, thanks so much for agreeing to do this. I know I speak for everyone when I say that, getting your expertise and your clinical and scientific mind to explain in simple terms what's happening is going to be really helpful it was really helpful for me yesterday, and I'm sure it's going to be really helpful for everyone else. Thank you for agreeing to do this.
Absolutely. And thank you for doing this for all of us in our community, because I do know that there's a lot of people out there that need some answers and need to feel like they're being proactive in this process and not feeling like they're being a victim of either media or misinformation or just the stress that's going on right now. What can we all do together to make a positive impact on the health? So you had some amazing questions, Mike, and they were, I think, really, really would relate to a lot of the people in our community. So I'm yours. What would you like to ask me?
Well, thank you. Well, the first question I have is, what should we know? I mean, there's a lot of, obviously there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of legitimate concern. There may even be some illegitimate concern. But what I want to know first and foremost is from your point of view, from the nutritionist point of view and from an expert, what should we know about COVID-19 or the coronavirus from that point of view? Is there something more?
Yeah. So a lot of you know that I actually have an animal science and agricultural science degree. So we've actually in that industry been studying coronavirus for a very long time. And Colorado State University, where I graduated from, Go Rams, is actually on the forefront of developing the vaccine for this particular virus. So in the agriculture world, and this is how we believe that this is possibly the way it was transmitted to the human population, we've actually studied this for a very long time. And one thing that we know in the animal models is that this virus is opportunistic. And we're seeing this in our public health. We're seeing this in our communities. But this virus seems to go after bodies, both in the animal world and in the human world, that are somehow compromised. It's highly communicable. We can pass it to one another fairly quickly, especially when it becomes evident in a particular herd or population. But for sure, it's opportunistic.
You said compromised. Can you expand on that just a little bit? What constitutes compromised?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that we look at, and again, we've been looking at this for a long time in animal models, we look at a low nutrition plane. So, when we have herd infection, we look at first and foremost, which is why I'm really hoping that we're starting to look at this in the human models. It's kind of crazy how there's this disconnect. But the first thing that we look at when we see this in a herd population is we say, okay, what are we feeding them? What is the nutrition? What is the nutrient density of the feed that we're feeding them? What are the minerals look like? And what do the vitamins look like? And so when we look at systems or metabolic pathways in the body, in the human bodies, we look to reduce inflammation. When the inflammatory processes are heightened, whether that's, an immune inflammatory process, hormone dysregulation, arthritis, autoimmunity, diabetes for sure, we know that provides metabolically the opportunity for viruses to become more virulent or stronger in that body.
That makes sense. So do you think that there's a correlation then between your nutritionist training and your scientific background and why just yesterday in our conversation, you mentioned you're getting obviously we won't mention names, but you're getting calls from some of the most prominent physicians and celebrities in the United States. Do you think that has any correlation to why they're coming to you?
I'm groundbound. I mean, I'm home as of yesterday, but I just looked and I actually had 14 flights in the last week and a half. I have been traveling around meeting with, I'm a wellness consultant. And so when individuals are out of their paradigm, so a lot of the physicians that I work with at a lot of the top hospitals are very focused, thank God, on disease treatment and not on wellness, not on prevention. We are, which with this distancing ourselves in large crowds and large populations, that is a very good act of prevention. But one of the things why individuals are bringing me in the medical community is how can we use nutrition as a prevention or to strengthen the body so that this opportunistic virus isn't going to take hold as significantly as they're thinking about. A lot of you know that I am working on my master's in public health at George Washington University. We study a lot about epidemiology, how things cluster in communities, what affects communities, why are some communities being affected more significantly. And one thing that we're starting to really see is a low plane of nutrition or a low quality of nutrition really can compromise the individual. That coupled with low growth hormones, that's why we're looking at some aspect of elderly population and pro-inflammatory hormones. So it's not that kids aren't at risk. It's not that we aren't being hypervigilant in our family with all of our kids at all, but it seems to be an elevation in growth hormone and a decrease in the inflammatory hormones are creating some sort of a protective mechanism. But, we are doubling down, and you guys know how committed we are to, fruits and vegetables and organic foods, but we are doubling down even in our household to really make ourselves stronger and not become an easy host.
Yeah, I think you really are hitting a very important point where many, and this is not to disparage those who are stocking up on supplies. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
No.
But I think if I were to, be a gambling man, I would much prefer to trade in my toilet paper for better supplements and better foods to make sure that my body has the best fighting chance of making sure that this virus, if it were to come into my household, I would have the strongest immune system and the strongest body and the strongest health to be able to combat it. So let me ask you, you mentioned a couple of groups already. You mentioned the diabetics and the elderly or anyone with an potentially high amount of inflammation. Who else should be more vigilant about their eating practices and their supplementation practices?
Everybody. And let me tell you why. Because this is called the carrier effect. And we look a lot of this in animal models, and we need to look at it in the human models. We are having a higher mortality rates in individuals that are compromised. But those, and I fall into that category. I have an autoimmune disorder, a blood-based autoimmune disorder. I also recognize, though, that my kids who, thank God are incredibly healthy, they can be carriers and expose people like my grandfather or my father that has diabetes and is on immune suppressing medications. A lot of the medications out there really put us, cause significant stress. So all of us, as we live in a community, even those that have incredible health, they can be, carriers and maybe even asymptomatic. So it's incredibly important. And you mentioned about the toilet paper, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday. People need to feel like they're doing something proactive. In our community, we just finished putting together a power food list. There are situations, we were at the grocery store yesterday, and it's shocking to see not only toilet paper, but, organic beans, organic brown rice. We need those complex carbs in times of stress. So if you were doing a carb-free diet, this is the time to set it aside. We don't want to be a body where our pH is acidic. So no ketoacidosis, no fasting. We actually need to feed and nourish the body through this time. But there was such a shortage in those things. And so what I did was I put together a power food list where I want you to have that in your phone. And I want you to just, when you're talking about stockpiling, maybe leave the toilet paper for get what you need, but definitely utilize the foods there. When my son went away to college, when our kids are away to college, we use the Metabolism Shake all the time because it's really hard for them to get a lot of the fruits and vegetables while they're living in those dorm rooms. It's funny because that has been, I mean, it's been insane. We have people stockpiling that. And what's really frustrating, I'm a huge advocate for supplements. It saved my life. It got me off prednisone. It got me off anti-rejection drugs. I know we had this conversation yesterday. But what's crazy that's going on is as we're seeing that these high quality ones are being effective in supporting the body's immune system, we're seeing price gouging. We're seeing limited supply and raw ingredients. And I'm heartbroken and furious at the same time.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I actually have a question about supplements, right? Well, two things. Number one, you hit the nail on the head. I went down to my local grocery store a moment ago here in Montana. We don't have great produce. We don't have great fruit. We have very, very, very limited supplies of those things. So I love your shakes because I know I can get all of the macro and micronutrients that are necessary for me and be able to do it without having to stress about attempting to find good quality organic food. So first of all, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
But then secondarily, you had mentioned about being able to use your power food list. I love the power food list. If I was in an area where I could use this, like where I could actually buy all these foods that are on here, I would absolutely do that. Unfortunately for me, I don't have a lot of those foods. I mean, you got everything in your pomegranates, lemons, dragon fruits, fennel, cactus, snow peas. I mean, this is a great, great list that you put together for everyone. And I'm really, really grateful for this. I have a couple more quick questions, and I want to make sure I'm respecting your time. People are going to want to run down to the local chain pharmacy and buy supplements.
Right.
Can you please address that for just a moment?
It's disheartening. So, like I said, I'm a little bit furious. I'm trying to not be, as my kids would call it, salty right now. We talked about foods that are, we have areas in this country that are food deserts, and things are so hard to get hold of. We're seeing that right now across the United States. To your point, things like spirulina, kale, spinach, bioflavonoids, all the things that science says can reduce an inflammatory response in the body, that it can increase an immune response in the body. It's very different viral to bacterial, the way the immune system works. Again, that's why we did our Metabolism Shake, because I couldn't find it while I was traveling. So those ingredients, if we are working very hard, we were able to get stuff out of, we order our folic acid and B vitamins out of Spain and Milan, Italy. We were able to get raw ingredients out before things closed down. We're working very hard to maintain supplies. We've made a commitment to our community to do price freezing, because that is not what's happening. There are probiotics out there that are, if they're not in a blister pack or a sealed sachet, they will not do re-inoculating. They'll be good for transient benefit, but they will not re-inoculate. We're seeing, really poor quality probiotics triple in their prices. I'm just so beside myself over that. So how do you know? There's a couple quick tricks. Most of the drugstores, pharmacies don't carry products that have independent assaying. I know that because we manufacture, right? But it's not to say that ours is the only thing in the world out there. So I'm going to teach you guys a couple tricks. And I don't know, we are doubling down on acquiring our supply, but I'm not going to buy raw ingredients just from any source so I can stay in the manufacturing business. I won't. We'll sell out long before I ever take anything onto our line that I'm not going to take myself. I wouldn't, but I also can't because of my own immune system. So sorry, it's a little bit of a touchy subject for me, but things to look for. You want to be on a high quality multivitamin. When you turn the bottle around, you need to see the word methylated when they talk about their B vitamins. It is 100 times more expensive to buy a methylated B methylcobalamin than cyanocobalamin. You can pretty much guarantee if it says cyanocobalamin, they are buying the cheapest of the cheapest of the cheapest ingredients. They're petroleum derived. They probably came from a country that doesn't do independent assaying. They definitely don't do independent assaying in the United States, or it wouldn't pass. So that's one trick. The other trick is in your probiotics, make sure they're blister packed. It extracts the
blister pack, meaning individually wrapped.
Individually wrapped. If you have a bottle of probiotics that you can shake and rattle around that have exposure to the air, the ones that will re-inoculate and build your own immune system will not be in there. They will die. So they have to either be in a powdered sachet, or they have to be blister packed, where they are wrapped in almost like a foil. The foil wrapped is what you call it. So for bacterial infections, the other probiotics have a transient benefit. They can compete for receptor sites with bacteria. But we do not have good medication in the viral world. It is your own immune system that must combat any of these viruses. So you have to have a probiotic that is blister packed. And if it's not, set it aside. If you get a little canker sore, you can use it. If you get a little Montezuma's Revenge, you can use it, but it's not going to boost. For those of us like myself, again, that are in the autoimmune category, I know that I have to have balance for my own immune system. It is my own body. It's the ecosystem or the terrain of my body that needs the support. So that's another great one. If you're considering doing a meal replacement shake, the one right now, we have several. The one right now that I feel like is really important from an anti-inflammatory perspective because it's got a ton of spirulina and turmeric in it, also the bioflavonoids. Turn your shake around. You need to look at the protein source. We get ours out of Belgium. It's chickpea based. Right now is not the time to use whey. It's pro-inflammatory. It's one of the reasons why bodybuilders use a whey-based protein all the time. It is not a good time to use garden pea, that based proteins. You want to use something that has a spirulina base and that is, like we use, ours is chickpea based and that has the alkaline vegetables with it. So you need organic kale, spinach, those types of things that will help stabilize the pH, reduce inflammation, and strengthen the body that you have. With viruses, antibiotics don't work.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm curious of one thing. I have my own theories, and I don't want to corner you on this, of course, so if you decline to answer, that's okay. To me, this is you mentioned this is a kind of an opportunistic virus.
Yes.
I'm wondering, if everyone in this nation or in this country or this planet was healthy and had proper supplementation and had proper minerals and was consuming the correct foods, minerals, and vitamins, I don't think that we would even be having this conversation. I don't know if this would have even occurred to this degree because we would have all been healthy enough to fight it.
Right. And, I wish we had a crystal ball and the capacity to really turn what ifs into science. Yeah. What we know is true in science and what every animal model has shown us, that this virus in particular is opportunistic, and it's also not only mortality, but its strength is multiplied in a body that's compromised. And this is tremendously stressful for people. The economic impact is tremendous for people. And one of the things that we know is that, sugar is probably the number one in lowering our T cell count. And T cells are very important in attacking viruses. Number two is stress. And this is crushing right now for people. What we're trying to do is do everything possible so that people feel empowered. And I understand the psychology of buying toilet paper. It's a basic necessity that, lets us know that a basic function in our body is going to be supported. So I can understand that. And what we really want to do as our community at HayliePomroy.com is provide proactive steps and targeted micronutrients to strengthen the body. So the first thing that we've done is we put together a power food list. The second thing that we've done is we're committed to price freezing. No matter what's going on in the industry, I refuse to participate in this opportunistic. I mean, as you can tell, I'm just heartbroken about it. The other is we're targeting or focusing on a couple of our supplements, the Metabolism Shake, and then our Metabolism Free Radical, which has very developed with the herbs for strong anti-inflammatory properties. This is what my family's taking, the probiotic and the multi. We're trying to look at ways that we can actually reduce the cost, even though, it's not, my son has a degree in economics and finance, and we're going all against supply and demand. We're concerned about running out. We want to make sure that we have enough for our community, and it's not normal to reduce the price in that kind of a situation, but we've got to understand the situation that people are in, and our team does. We're up at night about this, just the stress that people are under, and anything that we can do to help facilitate it, Mike, is what we're really committed to. Facilitate people getting well and being well and staying well.
That's one of the reasons why you and I are friends, because you have a different approach, you have a different mindset, and you are a quality human being whose whole purpose and intent is to enrich and heal the world. And I know that a lot of your fans and our listeners here today are going to be excited to get this. So I'm going to go through a quick recap. Number one, you mentioned avoid sugar. Number 2,
Yes.
avoid stress. 3,
Yeah.
avoid poor quality supplements.
Yes.
Number 4, avoid poor quality foods and if
Yes.
possible, only organic. Get proper supplementation and get proper education, which I'm summarizing based on what you're giving us all this information. Is there anything else that we should add?
I think the biggest thing that you can do is create a foundation of high nutrition right now. Our family, we all got up this morning. We had a metabolism shake. We're doing, while we can, lots of fresh fruits and vegetables. I did go purchase things like cranberries and blueberries that are frozen. But really, no matter what, everything comes to us as a community, I believe, as a human being for a reason. And I really hope out of all of this, we really understand that the better we take care of this vessel that we're, walking the world in, the better it can serve us, it can serve others, and it can protect us. And so, we're going to, on my website, we're going to continue to do these kinds of conversations. If people have questions, make sure they post them. And my phone is blowing up with people asking me what to do. And this is what we're doing as a family. And this is what I literally, it's kind of been a crazy day. But we're going to get through this, and we're going to get through it together.
Thank you so much, Haylie, for sharing with all of us. You guys, if you want any more information, please make sure to go to HayliePomroy.com. She's going to have put up a banner where you can go and get more information, get these lists, and get the targeted master food list that she was referring to, so you know what to get at the grocery store. It's a fairly inclusive list of all of the things that you'll want to make sure you're picking up and putting in that food cabinet for immediate consumption. Haylie, thank you again. I really am so grateful.
Absolutely. One last thing. We're all making metabolism chili together. We're all making coconut chicken together. Make sure that you're filling your freezers with foods that you've packaged, not just packaged foods.
I actually had questions for you, which I texted you yesterday. I'm like, hey, where are you? I need you. I'm so grateful for your friendship. So I want to ask these questions that probably everyone else is thinking too. And the first question that I have is, I keep getting people sending me these pictures. The first thing, don't panic, prepare, right? Nobody should panic. There's no reason to panic. And before I go into the question, could you talk for just a second about how that will actually lower your immune system, panicking and stress?
Right. And, this is a great point, Mike. And actually, on a real micro level, this is something that those of us, myself, deal with that have compromised immune systems or an autoimmune disorder every day. So for me, traveling, and, I travel a lot for work. I travel a lot with the kids. Every day when I travel, I have to source healthy foods. I have to source things that I'm either not allergic to or going to reduce my platelet account. So it's a very normal process for me to have to be extremely mindful and extremely planful of my nutrition, because for me, it's what saved my life. And it is very easy when individuals that have, we call it fear of the flare, that have an autoimmune disorder, they can get in a panic situation when they don't have food that's appropriate for them, or things that won't, or an autoimmune response or inflammation, or individuals with diabetes won't have a blood sugar spike. So there's on a real small level, this is something those of us with compromised immune systems live with every day. We're seeing this in epidemic proportions, in very large proportions now, because people that have maybe not had to think about sourcing their food so carefully are now being faced with that, and being faced with that from shortage. So the first thing I want to say is, every cell in my body, I completely understand the feeling of fear around scarcity of food. The thing that I will say, though, is that stress is hard on the immune system. And what we don't want to do is be choosing foods that actually reduce or compromise our ability to fight this and any other virus. So be very careful that you're picking, and being in the grocery store, I'm just in shock that it's the cereals that are gone, and the potato chips that are gone, and the sugary products. We know from HIV research that 1 teaspoon, and you and I were talking about this earlier, 1 teaspoon of refined sugar cuts your T cell count by 50% for 2 hours post-consumption. So it's one, I understand the fear. I totally get it. We've got to really be mindful of what we're choosing to fuel ourselves with right now. And, we're sending out tons and tons of care packages, to individuals that we work with, to our family. We talked again this morning, one of our employees is doing it for elderly individuals at their church. And we're trying to be proactive in what is in those care packages, that they actually elevate the health plane and not diminish it right now.
Yeah, that's super important. I'm glad you mentioned that. That was actually going to be one of my questions was what happens to all these people when they start, eating these potato chips and pasta meals and thinking that, because it's the only thing they can find right now on the shelves or even online in certain circumstances, this could have a very dramatic impact on their health because they weren't able to properly prepare vegetables and fruits in time and, shelf life, etc., which I think you were telling me earlier, because I was asking you for product. I'm like, hey, my God, send me a box. You're out of phase 1 and phase 2. You don't even have those shakes any longer.
Right. So because we are extremely neurotic about what we source from a raw ingredient perspective, we're already running into some problems. We are completely sold out of phase 1 and phase 2. We actually have a little bit of phase 3 left. We were doing some kind of relabeling. We have a manufacturer, it's a little bit shorter on the consumption time. We usually recommend that people consume it within 2 years of manufacturing, although, it's good for 5, but it only works if you get it in your body. So I had this conversation, again, one of our team members is working to make care packages for elderly individuals. And I had suggested the phase 3 powder because so my dad is a brittle diabetic. He is diabetic. He has autoimmune and he's severely kind of immune compromised. And so we use the phase 3 shake. It's funny because my son, who's in college and works out, uses the phase 3 shake religiously. And my father, who, like I said, has really struggles with health, it's like a lot of the elderly are given Ensure, that product, especially diabetics, things to stabilize their blood sugar. My dad deals with diabetic wasting, and so that really stabilizes him. So again, one of our team members was asking about it, and then my mom, she's really involved in her church community and was asking me about a bunch of those shakes. So, in our house, I'm also a little bit worried about supply chain. So I always tell our community, I've shown them videos of my closet where I keep all my goodies. And I ordered, because we are actually stuck in our California house right now. I ordered 12 the Metabolism Shakes for my family. I've got 2 college kids and 1 high school kid stuck in the house right now, my husband and I. And so we ordered more shakes. We ordered jerky. We ordered the cacao and the berry bars because our family each have their favorites. I ordered a 24-pack of the jerky. So, yes, we're out of some stuff. I'm starting to get a little concerned personally. And so, as you know, and that's how you and I started talking this morning, we're starting to send out packages to our friends and families and loved ones where I'm sending 6 of the shakes and cases of bars and the 24 packs of jerkies and probiotics and the metabolism metals and, free radicals, and just to make sure that people have things. We have to sustain life, and we can sustain life on pasta and potato chips, but the quality of life comes from quality foods and quality ingredients and quality nutrients.
Well, my larger concern would be that, those families who are elderly or immunocompromised, like, yourself, my wife, my mother, 72, if they continue to just consume carbohydrates, God forbid, that the virus were to come to them, they would have a much worse fighting chance of actually pulling through with an even further compromised immune system due to, eating really poor quality food, pastas, simple carbs, etc. Right?
Right. And you know me, Mike. I mean, I fly like a maniac. I don't worry about it. And I don't know if I know that I'm not invincible. Again, I know I get my labs. I know, that I have an autoimmune aspect, but I'm not one that gets overly alarmed or concerned about things. And I will tell, again, that's how we started talking again this morning. I'm concerned, and I'm concerned for our community. I'm very protective of the people. Hi, everybody in our community. I'm concerned at the numbers of bottles that we have. And so we're just trying to do everything we can do to source more. We are in a unique situation because there's a lot of junk out there that have, beautiful shiny labels on them. And if I'm not going to take it from my own health, and I'm not going to be sending, a goodie box to you and to my parents and to my grandparents and my son's girlfriend's parents. We're shipping stuff all over the place. My husband's a neurologist at UCLA. My husband, which is kind of crazy. or the gentleman that produces our public television special, my literary agent, we've just spent the last probably 4 or 5 days sending out boxes of stuff. But today was not a good feeling. I just did not have a good feeling about being concerned about seeing individuals, under stress, we're compromised. With immune stress, they're compromised. Elderly, they're compromised, and sustaining on this crappy food. It's just very frustrating. It's very disheartening because it perpetuates a low quality of health and the ability to fight this. Because we're more and more. Today was not a great day. We got some phone calls of family members and one of my team members, nephew, people that are being tested, and it's just hitting really close to home. It's hitting really close to this community.
It's hitting everybody close to home, and I'm really glad that myself and everyone listening today have you to be able to help clear up some of the air. So, and I want to say it for you because I know you're very humble about these things. But again, we talked before the call, obviously, so that I could know the status of where we are, because I want to help you and I want to help everybody else here. You're out of phase 1 shakes, you're out of phase 2 shakes, the phase 3 shakes that you have. You said before the call that instead of just selling them, you're going to actually give a discount to everyone who would need to purchase the remaining inventory that you have, which, mind you, is not a ton of inventory. It's not even in the hundreds of bottles. I mean, there's really very little left, but you're still going to discount it. Right? Everyone else is raising prices. You're actually going to cut the price.
Yeah. So go ahead. Sorry. Yes, I agree with you. No, what we wanted to do, because we did it like I said, we're sending it to people of one of our team members' churches and my mom's. Right. And what we wanted to do, if someone's elderly, is a great one for them, or they feel that they're immunocompromised, the phase 3 powder, because it's got the MCTs and it's got the DIM in it, which is really important. Remember, insulin is a hormone, and DIM helps our body metabolize hormones efficiently and wash receptor sites of those hormones. And so we're asking if anybody feels that would be appropriate, for themselves, for their grandparents, for their parents, that we want to make that available. So what we don't have much, but what we're gonna, I'm gonna, someone on my team's gonna take care of this. We're gonna just mark the rest of those down. I know you think I'm crazy. We're gonna mark the rest of those down to 50%. If people feel that they need those for the loved one, we've got to do whatever we can for our community, and this is our way of giving back.
You're so amazing. Thank you so much.
I don't know about that.
Again, I know that you don't have a lot of supply there, so I just want to make sure that if you're hearing this right now and you haven't yet, take the opportunity, go to HayliePomroy.com and then order. If there's any left, they'll be there. If not, it'll say back order.
Right.
And if you want, you can get on the back order line, and then as soon as that product's available, they'll let you know. And hopefully the supply chains will be able to stay intact. We'll be able to get more phase 1, more phase 2, and more phase 3 as quickly as possible. I want to just ask a couple of quick questions before we end the call about some of the other supplements, because you mentioned a few different supplements, but I absolutely love your supplements. Actually, before we go into the supplements, you mentioned the metabolism shakes, that you had more supply of the metabolism shakes, but when I did the math for you, it ended up being 0.5% of your list. You actually have enough shake for with one shake per person. It's not a lot, but I was wondering, could you talk just for a moment about the metabolism shake? Obviously, the phase 3, you mentioned the DIM and the micronutrients and the macronutrients. Can you talk about what's in the metabolism shake and who that would be good for,
Yeah, for sure. And Mike, I just got I got chills from my toes to my nose. We're working so hard. I mean, we are like on the phone and I just, we got offered, excuse my French, but crappy ingredients, and we just declined them, and I just can't. I won't. So there you go. Let's talk about the metabolism shake. So our families, from our high schoolers to my parents, everybody utilizes this. It's a complete organic meal replacement powder. So we have a vegan-based protein, turmeric, all those amazing anti-inflammatory rutin, the bioflavonoids. This is a great meal replacement shake. So what we're telling kind of our friends and family is right now, get up every morning, no matter what's going on. A lot of people are working from home. Let's start your morning with a shake, and then let's, see what you got kind of going for the rest of the day. We're using a lot of the recipes from the cookbooks. Those individuals that can be on plan, we're having a lot of individuals either do the pain and inflammation protocol, which has 2 shakes a day, Metabolism Revolution, which uses 2 shakes a day. Those, a lot of you'll see in our Facebook, a lot of our community members are doing those plans and those programs. What's great about it is we're having a hard time sourcing fruits and vegetables that, we can kind of stock in our house. So my husband always jokes that he gets very happy when the kids have the shakes in the morning, because he said there's a lot of kids that this is more nutrition than they're going to get in an entire week. And so, we're very proud that our family, consumes this. I think I told you the story, Mike, about my son being in Connecticut in college. Yeah. And saw a girl at the gym with the shake and said, hey, that's my mom's, It's our most comprehensive meal replacement powder, and it's organic and it's chock full. So yes, you're scared. You're absolutely right in your numbers. We're working super hard. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned scare just for a second, and it is scary because it's like, holy crap, we've never been in this position before. I mean, I've known you a long time, and I know our nation and the world's never been in this position before, so it is a little bit scary. Just say, I
just ordered 12 bottles this morning, Mike. I ordered 12 bottles this morning. I mean, we go through them, and I like I said, my community, I always show them pictures of my pantry. I just ordered bars and jerky, and I mean, you
walk the walk and talk the talk.
Right. Well,
so let me ask you a couple questions about these other products here really quickly, because I know that you have like very, 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 you sent me the supply, your quantity remaining, and I crap my pants a little bit. I'm like, oh my gosh. Your supplies are looking very low. You have only 80 of the probiotics left at the time that you sent the email this morning. Who knows what that's down to now on Monday, March 16th. You're down in the very, very, very low digits on the enzyme balance, the free radicals, the probiotics. I mean, you're almost out. Metabolism energy and your fatty acids. If you could just, hit for just 30 seconds, right. What does this thing do? Like the metabolism multi. Give us the 30-second understanding of each of these, if you don't mind, for those who are wondering and don't want to or have the time to take and go through, because you have so much information on your website. Give us a 30-second understanding of the metabolism multi first.
Right. So the metabolism multi is, it's what I would say it's my girlfriend's vitamin. We give it to everybody we know whenever we go to whether it's dinner parties or, Christmas for our kids' teachers. It is, ultra clean, super bioavailable. All the Bs are methylated. It really helps elevate the nutrition in the body. So, again, being an Aggie, having a degree with biochemistry, all of these aspects let me know that the better I can make the nutrition, the micronutrient plane, the better I level the playing field. And this is how we do it quickly. So, that's kind of a given in our world. We all take the multi, it's our community. We go through thousands and thousands and thousands of multi. It is our number one reordered. People notice it when they stop taking it. It's kind of one of those things where, it just really helps with, I just can't take any more bad news as far as, we know our food quality is not great. We know we're under crushing stress. I can't dwell on that. I have to be proactive in my mindset because of, the practice that I have, the autoimmune that I have, the kids that I have. I just got to say, okay, cool. This is the hand we're dealt. How can we just completely change the paradigm and elevate the playing field and level the playing field? And that's the metabolism multi.
Wonderful. Thank you. What about the enzyme balance?
So what a lot of people don't recognize is in enzymes, we think of digesting our foods. So yes, it's taking protein and making it into amino acids so that you can actually utilize the nutrition that you're consuming. But I just taught a whole class on this in our Metabolism University, and the feedback has been really cool. What a lot of people don't recognize is enzymes are what make things happen in the body. So our enzymes activate our hormones, our enzymes activate our immune systems, our white cell, red cell, T cells, our lymphatics. It is an enzyme that will actually turn all of those pathways on. So it helps us break down our foods, turn macronutrients into micronutrients, but also enzymes are what activate all of the immune function in the body. So, they also break down complex carbohydrates. There's a lot of aspect into it, but that we should see if we can make that class. Sorry, my team.
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
I know.
I was thinking the same thing. I almost cornered you too.
I know. It's in Metabolism University, which is, right now everybody's getting it for free when they buy the book. But
Right.
But maybe we can figure out how to pop that course open.
Let's talk about that and see if we can make something like that happen. I don't want to corner you, but I want to do so bad.
Hey, honestly, when I went out in the diet world, when I wrote the first diet book, FMD, Fast Metabolism Diet, I'm part of an industry that I'm very disappointed in how people treat people. And I'm going to go out and say that you can actually fall in love with food, and the metabolism affects every aspect of your life. I feel that same way. I run shoulder to shoulder with people in the supplement industry that I just am so disheartened that we're even in the same industry.
Yeah.
Price gouging, crappy ingredients, slapping labels on things that are not even what they say are in the bottle. It's really hard. And it was really hard for me in the diet industry, and it's really hard for me in the supplement industry. But if we can find out, the best thing that people can do is have information, knowledge, education that can empower them. You can chew your food and secrete enzymes. And if you understand how profound enzymes are in the entire body, you can do even just that right now will make a huge impact.
Oh, you're awesome. Okay, I got 3 more to hit you with. We're running out of time. So free radicals.
Okay, so free radicals are a herbal micronutrient complex. And willow bark is one of the important things they have. So I don't know if you're familiar with what's called the ORAC value, ORAC, antioxidant value. So let me give you this example. So we have cells that go in and are immune cells. So imagine like Pac-Man that go in and take care of any viral potential invader. Those cells, we need them to be robust, strong, and have a long lifespan. What happens is they get premature aging or premature dying when we get inflammation and we get what they call free radical damage. Or basically, imagine this Pac-Man that's, a lipid membrane, which is your cell made out of, a jelly-like substance, and it's going through the bloodstream and there's all these shards of glass. That's what free radicals are like. The Pac-Man just pop and disintegrate and break down, and they can't go in and chomp the viruses. So what free radicals do is in the blood, they help clean up the free radicals that cause the damage to the cell. They also help support the natural anti-inflammatory secretion in the body. So free radicals in the pain and inflammation protocol, my particular autoimmune, I'm like a hematologic geek, right? I studied the blood because I wanted to get off prednisone and Imurin and Cellcept and all this stuff that I was on before. I was on 60 milligrams of prednisone. So I wanted to study the behavior of the immune response in the blood, because that's the particular autoimmune disorder that I have. ITP affects the platelets specifically in the blood. So what I was looking for is a way to vitalize those Pac-Men, a way to strengthen those Pac-Men. And that's when we brought on the metabolism free radicals.
Awesome. That sounds fantastic. Okay, 2 left and we got to make it short. Metabolism energy.
Okay, so metabolism energy, it's actually a drink, a beverage. I'm not sure if you've tried this one. You'll have to let me know.
I have. I love it. It's very effervescent.
Okay, cool. Okay, yes, I'm obsessed with it. So again, I'm obsessed with it because it has all the bioflavonoids in it. So it's got quercetin, rutin, and nitric oxide. So it helps deliver oxygen to the cell. So remember that Pac-Man, we want it to be vital and have tons of oxygen, but it also has the natural bioflavonoids, which are natural anti-inflammatories. So it's really good for things like histamine or mast cells. So like rashes and hives, it's a little trick that a lot of my clients use to make their eyes really nice, white and bright before they stand in front of the camera. But I use it to travel. Again, the energy is not because there's any stimulant in it. It's because it helps with oxygen delivery into the cell.
It's kind of a horrible name almost for it, because the way you've just described it, energy doesn't even do it remotely justice. So one quick question on the energy. And I know, first of all, it's a powder. You put it into a glass of water. It tastes amazing. On that energy side, you're talking about histamine response. And from what I understand, this specific virus that everyone's concerned with right now is the biggest problem is the histamine response, or one of the largest problems is histamine response.
Right. It's a combination of histamine and the pro-inflammatory, the prostaglandins, which we're seeing. So remember how earlier in our conversation I talked about insulin being a hormone. Our hormones are regulated by the prostaglandins, PG1, 2, and 3, which are pro-inflammatory hormones, anti-inflammatory hormones. All of the sex hormones all of the glucocorticoids, which regulate blood sugar, inflammation, and yes, that histamine, the allergy response in the body. So it's one of the reasons why we're finding individuals that are immune compromised. Diabetes is a big one. Any hormone dysregulation seems to be a big one, with it causing more complications. So it's not, with age, we have more opportunity to maybe manifest these metabolic disorders, but we're really looking at, like they talked about today, I don't know if you watched the press conference today, they talked about it's not a chronological age aspect, has the body aged, and metabolic dysregulation or dysfunction has manifested in some chronic disease or imbalance that's allowing these viruses to perpetuate significant impact, specifically on the mucosal lining, the lungs.
That's amazing. Okay, so you just said a bunch of stuff that a lot of it I don't understand, and many of our listeners here are probably thinking the same thing. But I'm so stoked that you understand it, because I'm just gonna do what you say. Okay, one last one. We'll make this one fast, and then we'll end. Fatty acids. I love those things. Why am I loving them so much?
I do too. So there's a couple things. Again, so we have things that build things in the body, right? So we talk about, how do we build collagen? How do we build elastin? How do we build bone? How do we build muscle? There are building blocks for hormones, which come from lipids, which are the acids. So there are also building blocks for cell wall, and those come from the fatty acid. So the fatty acids are really important in this case for two reasons. One, they help provide the micronutrients to give that Pac-Man that I was talking about in your immune system to be able to go in and chomp exposure. They build that cell wall, so they make them stronger in the dignity outer lining and that bit. The other thing is, and I talk about this in our community, we those fatty acids, 2 carbon molecules at a time, to remodel and manufacture all of our anti-inflammatory hormones, all blood sugar regulating hormones, all of our immune boosting hormones that regulate histamine production. So those are the building blocks. So this is the way I like to look at it, Mike, and this is why we put it all together. The fatty acids are like the building blocks for all of the sex hormones, all of the hormones all together. The enzymes make that magic happen, right? The free radicals prevent the damage that goes on because of the quality of our food, because of our environment, because of stress. So they work really well hand in hand. And then I like to use the word, the metabolism energy when I'm teaching. I talk about that being like the messenger that delivers everything around the body. So it helps absorption of nutrient, but because of that oxygen delivery, it helps deliver things into all of the different cells that need repair or fortifying or regenerating. So that's kind of how those play together.
You're so awesome.
Sorry.
Sometimes I don't think you recognize how smart you are at this stuff. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh. Okay, so one quick thing I want to say, you mentioned a lot of different things, and you said pairing them together. If you're out of supply on one, I think I kind of speak for you a little bit when I say taking one of those is better than taking none of them. Taking them all together is best.
Yes. And can I talk about just super quickly? I just want to go through from a lifestyle perspective. Enzymes, the way that you can promote those in addition. I mean, I'm supplementing. Sorry, I'm supplementing. Right. I will supplement. I will never, I'm knock on my head. I never want to go back on prednisone again. I want to live the vibrant life that I've been blessed to live. Enzymes, how you can secrete those naturally, chew your food. I've got videos on, sing your favorite rap song, sing your favorite show tune. I don't care, sing happy birthday, but chew your food right now. On the free radicals, fruits and vegetables, Metabolism Shake, all of those dark leafy greens are going to really help you not have that damage. The metabolism free radicals support and supplement for that. The metabolism energy, whether you're in your house right now, try to do some cardiovascular exercise, get that oxygen stimulation, dry skin brush, hot, cold showers, things that are going to create a stimulation. We know that when we add that micronutrients and metabolism energy, it helps that delivery of all those amazing things you're doing for yourself. And then the lipids from the fatty acid perspective, things like avocados, raw nuts and seeds. Right now, soak your nuts. When you're stressed, you need to soak your nuts. They're easier for the lipids to get there. There's a lot of things that you can feel really proactive with at home. And again, just like in the diet world, it was a really uncomfortable space for me to come out in the supplement world, we're going to sell out at a discount long before I raise prices and allow lower than the most impeccable quality in my bottles. And that's just what's going to happen right now in my life.
Exactly
and
why.
I'm at peace with it.
Haley, that's why I love you, because you don't compromise the best. Yeah, you're going to find a bottle of something that says multivitamin at your local chain store for $3, but it's not the same as what I'm getting when I buy the multi from you, because I know your sourcing, I know your science, I know your degrees, I know that you put the time in. So I want to kind of close the loop here, because we've gone for a while.
Sorry.
And so no, you're okay. I need to jump onto another appointment. One of the things you said before we started was, not only were you going to take for those who are senior or who are immune compromised and selling the phase 3 shake, you said you were going to do it at a 50% off discount. That's fantastic. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, if I say this incorrectly, please, you guys don't hold my feet to the fire, but I think you said 25% discount on the other products you mentioned today: Metabolism Multi, the Enzyme Balance, the probiotic, the free radicals, the Metabolism Energy, and the fatty acids. There are limited supplies. You sent me the quantities that you have remaining. It's ridiculous, like 149 of the free radicals. There's only 80 of the probiotics. There's only 200 of the enzyme balances. And you have 100,000 plus people in your list. So what I'm trying to say is, if any of these are calling to you, or if you want to really hit home, I guess I just go to your homepage, right?
Yeah, just HayliePomroy.com. And honestly, like, I think it's just when I'm sitting there ordering 12 of them for myself this morning, and then we all talk, and we have the most beautiful team in the world. I just put every one of our team members on our team, we sent them goodie box too, and we gave them access to anything on the site. They've been there for all these people in our community. We just want to do something to try to lighten the load, and know that people are struggling right now.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your insight and your advice, and hopefully you guys too. Just thank you so much for your time, Haley.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon. Text me anytime.
I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to another inspiring episode of Power on Your Plate with Haylie Pomroy. Please remember to share the amazing science and tools with someone you love. The more we know, the more we all lift our global health together. Visit www.HayliePomroy.com to get notes from today's show and to take your education and health to a new level of success and happiness.
Information on this podcast is provided for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for the advice provided by your physician or other healthcare professional, or any information contained on or in any product label or packaging. You should not use the information on this podcast for diagnosing or treating a health problem or disease, or prescribing any medication or other treatment. You should always speak with your physician or other healthcare professional before taking any medication or nutritional, herbal, or homeopathic supplement, or adopting any treatment for a health problem. If you have or suspect that you have a medical problem, promptly contact your healthcare provider. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking professional advice because of something you've heard on this podcast. Information provided on this podcast and the use of any products or services purchased as a result of this podcast does not create any type of professional relationship between you and any of the associates affiliated with this podcast. Information and statement regarding dietary supplements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.